Like I said before, black women overall have not really thought about what they need to do in order to properly foster relationships with black men who have their shit together and actually want to do the whole family thing. Maybe not marriage, but they're not trying to play the field. They're trying to have, one woman, and they're trying to build and move on. Okay, so they're not trying to play the field. They're not worried about, him keeping his dick in his pants. He's settled down for the most part. He's cool. He's had his fun, has his affairs together. He's trying to move on, get his grown man on, trying to get his Bill Cosby on. There's no conversation on what to do with that type of black man, and that's the problem. The funny thing is, you'll hear women talk about how do you know if a man is cheating on you, or when is it right to sleep with a man, or what does this mean? Like mad trivial high school shit. That's what really irks me. To hear grown women talk about shit that we was talking about in high school really bothers me. To be honest with you, it annoys me, right? Because we should be beyond that. If the men you're with make you ask those questions, you need to move on. Right? If a woman gives me the impression that she's cheating on me, or she may not be about me, I'm not going to figure out how I should deal with that situation. I'm going to end the situation and move on. But women will deal with it. What happens if your man doesn't have a job? You're supporting your man. What should you do? Move the fuck on. You don't deal with it. You move on. Right? So there's always a catch. Right? You're always dealing with some shit. But what happens when a brother has his shit together? What happens when his money's together? His mentality's together. He's not trying to fuck around. He's already had his fun. What are you going to do? You don't know what to do. And like I said, this is where black women get beat out, because there's no problem. There's no advice. There's nowhere you can go to. There's this assumption that because he has a job and wants to be in that sort of serious relationship, and she has a job and she wants to be in that sort of relationship as well, that it's going to naturally work. It's going to naturally work, and things are going to fall into place. And no, it's not. This is the problem. This is why black men say the second we have our shit together and we're not trying to play games, a lot of the women fold. I've already had women come on and talk to me about this in private. They fold. They're not sure what's going on. They're used to putting up with something. They're used to putting up with him cheating. They're used to supporting him financially. They're used to dealing with some sort of hang-up. But when his shit is together, what goes on? You guys aren't prepared for that. So just imagine if you're competing with other women where that's what they're going for. They're not worried about what to do when your man is cheating on you, or when is it right to sleep with him, or what happens when he doesn't have a job. How do you motivate him? They're not worried about shit like that. All they're doing is worrying about trying to form relationships, meaningful relationships with the men who have their shit together, the men who can support a family, and the men that actually want to be in that sort of environment. That's all they're concerned with. So black women are naturally at a disposition when it comes to that, because they're not prepared for it. They're not talking about it. That's why it's really not a competition. The white girl, whoever, isn't coming through and out competing black women because her skin is white or her features are European and she has long flowing hair. No, she's coming in and saying, hey, I can, run your program. I've been raised to seek out a man who can provide for a family. And when I find a man, I do X, Y, and Z. They can find that man and they pull out their blueprint and they know exactly what to do. Step 1, say hello. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do that. Step 4, it's planned out. They already know what to do. It's been instilled in them. But for black women, it hasn't been instilled in them. There is no blueprint. If your man's a dog and there's a cheater, there's plenty of women out there that are going to help you with that shit. Don't get me wrong, but where's that going to go? Like I said, if that's your problem, where do you think your relationship is going to go? Right? Where? Even if you got that situation to get itself up and running, how far do you think it's going to go? Sometimes you got to get a new car. There's no point in fixing a bucket it's not going to work for you. And that's the problem. Okay? I really haven't came across any woman here on YouTube that's actually had any sort of discussion about what needs to happen when two black people who have their shit together come together. Right? They meet. So they're not worried about, does somebody have a job? How many kids do they have? Or are they a player? Or are they trying to have guys on the side? No one's ever talked about, or the women have never talked about, what's going to happen next. Is it supposed to naturally happen? No. Right? You know, and people can say, oh, what about the men? On my channel, I know I have. Right? You know, a long time ago, I did a video on relocating. Right? And I talked about, you know, what happens when you have a meaningful relationship, but somebody may have to relocate. What goes on? So I've tried to even spearhead conversations that go on, or conversations that deal with issues that productive black people have in productive black relationships. And you've had other men try to do the same. But when it comes to the women, you haven't seen it. Right? You know, as much as black women focus on black men and relationships, you never get any diversity in conversation or thought, right? Which is crazy, because I still get people who will come on my channel and say, you know, all you do is talk about the same thing, and I'm like, yo, I beg to differ. I almost have 700 videos. Go ahead and look through them. Okay, I've touched on topics that a lot of people haven't touched on. They just don't get viewed. You know, I can't really help that. So at the end of the day, y'all have to ask yourself, what's going on there? You know, like what are you guys actually trying to do? Because this is the critical area, right? You're missing out on the actual black men, because you're not going to be talking about decent black men when you have conversations about, is it time to have sex yet? Right? Is he cheating on you? Does he have a job? Right? Does he live with his mama? Right? Does he have to get more assertive or whatever? Okay? If you're having those conversations, you are not talking about the black men that are leaving and hopping the fence. You're not talking about it. But you guys think you are. You think you're covering those grounds, but it's not going to work. You don't have the blueprint. You know, spending way too much time focusing on shit that's not going to work. Whereas other women from different groups, that's all they specialize on. Finding men who are successful. And with the economy the way it is, and financial instability, to be real with you, in a couple of years, your ability to provide, your financial standing is probably going to supersede race. So women are no longer going to be on some, I'm going to try to find a white male that's successful, or I'm going to find an Indian male who's successful, I'm going to find a Hispanic man who's successful, or an Asian man who's successful. They're going to go for, I'm trying to find a man who is successful. That's my first goal, right? His race is secondary. You know, I have my preferences, but that's my number one. So if I meet a millionaire black guy versus a white guy who's doing okay, I'm going to go with the millionaire black guy. That's where society is moving. Trust me, from a dude's point of view, I'm not lying to you. Right? The world has changed. You know, I know there's not a lot of us, but most of the dudes in my camp, we come from a certain cut, and we can go out, okay, and talk about where we go to school, or, you know, have on a hoodie or something that indicates that we did go to college, and it's already a wrap. It's already rap. You know, I'm not trying to say that, oh, all the non-black women are checking, but for the most part, a decent amount are already sold. Oh shit, you know, he has his shit together. I don't really care if he's black. I already know that my certain standard of life is going to be met. I can care less what my parents have to say. So that's where society is moving. And black women are missing out on the bus, not even on successful black men, but successful men in general. I don't care if he's an alien. I don't care what race he is. You still have to have a blueprint for knowing how to deal with successful men regardless of race. And you guys haven't really went there. You haven't even had that conversation with yourselves. Fuck having the conversation with black men. Amongst yourselves, you haven't talked about that. Right? So you're prohibiting yourself from getting with any sort of man who is successful. So that's my video. Y'all take it easy. God bless.